Welcome to the Prepped and Polished podcast, the podcast that empowers you to take control of your education, featuring weekly interviews with influencers in the world of education, as well as tutoring tips, lessons, and updates.
Hi everyone, welcome to another Tutoring Tips episode of the Prepped and Polished podcast. It's Anooj of Prepped and Polished. Please be sure to check out our website, www.preppedandpolished.com, for more info. While you're there, sign up for our free tutoring and test prep tips newsletter. It comes out monthly. You can join our Prepped and Polished community on Facebook and Twitter. Just search for Prepped and Polished. You can submit a question during the show or after to radio@preppedandpolished.com. We love hearing from you. Let's get right to it. So, how to get a 5 on the AP Chemistry exam. So, tip number one. Tip number one is do well in your class. When you review for the AP exam and you're trying to get a 5, you don't want to be learning things for the first time. You can't be learning equilibrium in 2 days. You've got to be learning these hard, important concepts during the class. And to do this, you want to read the entire book. Every time you get a homework section, read the section that correlates in your textbook and read through it. Do every homework problem. This is going to be important. And if you're doing this and you're still not doing well in the class, don't worry. Because when you go to review, you'll be learning for the second time and it's going to come back and you're going to learn it a lot easier. But the first time, I definitely want you guys to struggle through it and make sure you at least attempt to get every concept down. And start reviewing for your AP exam 2 to 3 weeks before your actual test day. All right, tip number two. Tip number two, I want you to dedicate an entire notebook to reactions. Get a reactions notebook. Now, what this means is every time you see a reaction in class, when you're reviewing, on a random textbook page, write it down in your notebook. And on the sides, just write down in the margins some notes like, hey, this is a sulfite reaction. It usually, with oxygen makes this sulfite gas or whatever. And balance it, classify it. And what this does is over time, you're going to start seeing that you're writing down lots and lots of reactions. And when you're writing them down in this notebook and you're seeing them all together, you're going to start seeing patterns and you're going to develop an intuition on how to predict products and reactants and some extra practice balancing them. So on test day, there's an entire section that you have to predict reactants and products. You can do that really easily. It's not going to give you any problems at all. And even in the multiple choice, it's going to help you through that too. Every time you see a reaction, you're just going to feel a lot more confident. Tip number three. Tip number three is I recommend going through old College Board AP Chemistry exams. The newer ones you want to save closer to the test date. You want to start with the older ones when you're further out. And what you want to do is go to the free response questions and start with the topics that you're feeling a little shaky on. Start doing the full problems out. And don't trick yourself into thinking you know how to do a problem. So don't read the question and be like, oh yeah, it's an equilibrium problem. I just got to balance it like this and I can predict, I can use the ice table and get this answer. You don't want to do that. What you want to do is, get a sheet of paper, pencil, and start doing step by step, just like you would on the actual exam. You want to solve the entire problem. What this is going to do is point out mistakes. You make a calculation error, you assume you knew something but you didn't, and when you're doing it step by step, you're going to see that, and it's going to give you more confidence on test day when you're actually solving the problem. You don't want to have, every one of these problems has like twists to it, and you don't want to think that you know everything and then on test day come up with a twist, you see the twist and you're not able to solve it and you start panicking. So do the problem start to finish on as many problems as you can. So there you have it. Those are the 3 tips on how to get a 5 on the AP Chemistry exam. This wraps up our show, episode number 101. Be on the lookout for our next podcast, episode number 102. Our next interview guest episode. Remember to access all of our podcast episodes. Go to preppedandpolished.com/podcast. Thanks for joining us on the Prepped and Polished podcast. Now go out there and take control of your education.
You've been listening to the Prepped and Polished podcast. For more information, check out preppedandpolished.com. Also, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for listening. Class dismissed.